S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 pair gains, hitting session lows.
Hello, hello. None of my indicators are loading on Tradeify. It's kind of annoying. Also, it just took me like 15 minutes to log in because of the time out of sync garbage on Tradeify. We're just filling gap on NQ and ES. Yeah, 470. That's your gap fill to 420.
According to Channel 12 News, they're citing Chief of Staff Zamir in the north from Israel, saying the attack we carried out in Iran was preparation for a much more significant and heavy strike.
Yep. Am I streaming every day? I don't know, man. I'm just here. I'm just watching this 432. This was incredibly reactive last night. 432, 429. I took a long here last night. I was up till 5 in the morning. I played this entire move up. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on this area. This was a like incredibly reactive area last night. Dude, my charts will not load on Tradeday. I am very annoyed. I did learn a fancy new trick for Tradeovate though. You can do Control R to reload your entire layout and your DOM and everything without closing and relogging. That's fancy.
So just keeping an eye on the indexes in the US stocks. It's continue to move. It's seeing movement towards the downside. Again, no other headlines. The only headline that we've had is just recently from Israel's N12 News. That Israel's chief of staff, Zamir in the north, says attack we carried out in Iran was preparation for much more significant and heavy strike. But again, no other headlines before that were
Holy
linked to the
sell,
decline.
man.
S&P 500, Nasdaq 100 now turning negative.
Bro, I can't trade if I don't have like charts with like order flow. I gotta wait until this loads. This is really annoying. The vibes are bad, man.
So Nasdaq Composite reverses early gains, last down by 0.3%.
Do you guys see how we're moving? You better be trading like 1 MES right now. You know what I'm saying? Holy. Yeah, like you need to be trading small as hell. Or zero? True. I can't even load my charts and you want me to take a trade? That's funny. Some initial absorption here. They're trying here at this this low. I'm curious to see what happens into 424 on ES here. I think that they're going to try to sweep it.
Seeing shares of Goldman
Yeah.
Sachs quickly turning negative.
RTY got a really nice bounce off our 30-second opening range, which is causing this move. Really watching our reaction as we push into 424. Really, so far, some really good absorption into this area, into the 420, 400. Now push down. Oh no, dude, my charts are lagging like crazy. This is not happening. I just looked at my DOM. We're at like 380 right now, but even on Tradeify, it's 420. Nah, man. Nah. I'm good. I'll give it a minute. Let's let this thing catch up. They are really trying here. We are absorbing into 370 from on the bid on NQ. 400 420 is our seller absorbing buys. Offers getting absorbed into 370. Two-sided trading here. Really watching what we're gonna do.
Energy Secretary writes as natural gas will be the biggest new source to power AI.
We can see him taking in. All these guys are offsides into these lows. This looks good, actually. We're watching our 432 here on ES. Really great absorption. And like I said, really nice tail there at the end. Good pushback up. This looks pretty solid so far. Watching to see how we look above here on this 432 on ES specifically. But really nice tail here. Watching to see if we can do something like this. We've got secondary buyers trying to step in at 440 on NQ.
So just keep an eye on the areas that are leading the biggest declines then in the S&P 500. So you have the energy sector, which is down the most out of all the other sectors, and next to that you have the information tech sector as well.
This should go to 490 if we can hold this 440. Russell pushing up into our VWAP. I want to see this hold this. This looks great. All
So
of
this
these
is just
guys are
further from
trapped.
Israeli Army Chief of Staff. They say we continue to fight and carry out attacks along the front lines in southern Lebanon.
We're going to keep an eye on a hold of this, push up into here. Hold of this, push up into here. They just took in decent size into 490 on the flip, pushing up. Sell side's battling for that right now. Good hold so far. Pushing. Good hold of 490. Pushing up into 540, I think. Retesting our 480, 490 again, seeing if we can hold this. This is where that big chunk of sell was getting absorbed. We want to see this defended pretty clearly, or we flip back down to 440. And we look for liquidity there, and then we look for reoffer into 480. This is your secondary here. We watch to see how bid happens at 440, and then we watch 480 for reoffer if sell side serious. This is the pivot that we're back testing into here. We have 2 minutes on this candle. We want to hold these areas. We need to get back over this 480, 490 here in bid. Just filled that. 440 was good. Now pushing back up. We need to see this flip and then go, or this is where they'll try to hold into this 480, 490 on the offer for a lower high. They're taking in into 500, 510. Just retesting our 480, 490 now. This is where we watch to see if the bid is able to hold on ES into this 29 to 32, or if this is all we get. We flip these and offer. I think we have to come back down to our lows first. So this is a pretty big test. We were incredibly reactive here last night. Incredibly reactive on ES. This is Russell retesting our 30-second opening range as well. Looking to see if we can take in size here and then hold, or if this is going to fail. Watching. Want to see pretty reactive bids here on NQ if we're going to hold. Same thing with ES as we push down into this. Just keeping an eye on it. Two-sided here. I mean, I kind of like this low still, boys. I don't know. We have made a really clear higher low. We held where we needed to so far. These guys look good. Sell side's trapped as hell. I just need to see us show a little bit more interest on NQ. But I'm a big fan of this low on both NQ and ES. We just have to get through these guys up here. We just lifted back up. This looks okay.
NG Secretary Wright says oil exports from Hormuz and Persian Gulf are set to rise.
Let me see if I can find a good secondary here. I really want to see this sequence. We got our low, we got our look back down, right? So like this is the sequence right now, is that we pushed down like this, and then we've retested, bid off of this, and now I want to see us show interest back up. And if we can do this, we can fill.
Bank
But we have
America's Jim
to
DeMere sees concern and caution markets.
just
So
let
just now,
this
Major Y is
settle.
picking up on the IDF chief comments about how striking Iran was preparation for heavier blow. We're prepared to return and strike Iran again. So we've already put it out, but it's being picked up by some of the more major news wires here. They also say they'll continue to deepen damage to Hezbollah.
We're not ready yet.
So I said we've already said this on our feed, but it's being picked up by some of the more wires.
But I think that we're trying to build here, and if we can flip this 440, 446 area on ES and show interest outside of 440, even just like a slight bid at this node edge, we're in a really great spot. If not, we'll have to look for this to flip and then go to our resistance. But this is like really all I'm watching is just this structure between 440 and 425, and then if we can make a higher low here at our 430. What indicator is that? It's something that I'm working on, Cass. It's something that I built. I've been working on a fully automated footprint on Tradeify that shows absorption, shifts, breakouts, everything. It is quite good. It took a while, Ty. It took a while, and there are multiple kinds of absorption. There's continuation absorption, and then there's swing absorption into our highs. Yeah, I had to. It was a lot. But I caught a 180 point move on Globex last night on the upside, and I caught a 140 point move on Globex to the downside on NQ with it, which was interesting. Would you release it? I've got to figure out what I'm gonna do. The idea is that I had it fully automated and it would call out like this is, do you see like these absorption signals? Like it called out the absorption into the lows, and then it called the shift afterwards once the absorption was confirmed, um, which is kind of sick. But like I can alert those to the server itself, so like I wouldn't even have to be here, and it would still like call these things out. But it's still a very much a work in progress right now. So until I can forward and back test it enough to a point where I'm comfortable putting it out, which is what I'm doing right now, by the way. I'm forward testing it while we're doing this. I'm not going to release anything until I think that it's good. I would not give you guys a product that I would not use myself. Yeah. No, like if it's not like a tool that I want to use for myself to make my life easier, then it's fucking worthless, right? Oh, they're trying to hold this so badly. I'm gonna try a small long here with a stop at God, can I even do this? It might be too tight, man. I'm gonna put my stop at this 26 and try to see if we can start to build a position here from 26 to 32 on ES. I think it might be too tight, but I'm hoping that we're able to hold tier above now. I might get stopped here. I'm just trying to build, but I like this 32 area if we can hold now. We just look to see if they can take in into 28s and continue to take in size here. I really want to see a higher low. I'm trading incredibly small size. But yeah, I'd like to see if this is going to bid. Mm. You gotta wait for Russell to fall. It's going to come down into this 86. Yeah, no, they swept me. I think we're fine though. That's the problem. It's like I don't know how to. We gotta wait for Russell to stop falling here before I try again. I don't want to just like take paper cuts for no reason. Just back to our support here and our lows on NQ and ES. Watching to see what we do. The minute 30 left on this candle. Coming back into our tail here. NQ leading. Oh my god, I gotta delete this.
Seeing spot silver declining by 3% now.
I'm watching this flip one retest, or have 50 seconds until new 15s. Trying to take out our lows and flip this absorption that we saw on ES. I'm more than willing to play this flip at 414 to 420. We'll get I think we'll get a re-offer of this, but I've taken an initial position here into 414, 420. I'm almost positive we'll get a solid re-offer, but just watching this on retest. Our next level down is 395. I'm looking for a slight bid here. And then we'll look to see how we interact into this pivot, and then if we can continue down. This can technically come back all the way to here. but my primary look is going to be if we can just hold this. Offer sits here. Again, watching just this primary look into this. Holding so far, pushing down into 395. Same thing with NQ here, trying to hold below. Just watching our edge, opening at the bottom of that candle. Just shifting below our previous, playing off these sellers here, pushing down into
So just keep
395.
an eye on the S&P 500 continuing to decline now into the negative area. Again, the only other headline that we had was at
Taking off
10:15. We
first
had
risk here.
Israel Chief of Staff Samir in the north. So the attack we carried out in Iran was preparation for much more significant and heavy strike. And then later on said that we continue to fight and carry out attacks on the front line in southern Lebanon. No other headlines to back up the move. Also, bear in mind, WTI didn't really react so much to those Israel headlines, but just specifically on the S&P 500. As said before, the weakest sector out of the S&P 500 is
It's
energy
your first risk
and
here.
the information tech.
It's your first risk off. Let's see if we sweep below. What a nice reoffer there. Do you guys see that? Is that clear on footprint here? With these buyers trapped into our highs. Do you see how they were taken? And then we got this immediate sell down once we took into these sellers here from our previous candle. Buy is offsides up into our highs, pushing down into target now into this 390, 395. And I've now made up for that stop out on ES. Okay, pushing below. I'd love to see a reoffer of 390, 395 if we're going to hold. We've got a huge amount of selling into this tail, and we want to keep these buyers off sides. So I want to be watching as we push down, how we interact as we push back up into
Nasdaq
this.
100 extending decline now to
Go for
1%.
this continuation. Same thing on NQ here. We want to be watching this. See how we interact as we push down. So far, sell side showing interest
Taiwan
here.
says that they're going to leverage resources to safeguard maritime safety. As Taiwan early condemned China's actions in the eastern zone. Now, seeing the S&P 500, as said, turning lower, last down 0.4%.
They just got absolutely ruined at 140, 160 so far. Watching that on NQ. Damn, just got to take it in here. Watching to see if we can hold that or if we need to come back up. We've got this node here where we're watching the offers step down. Try to move down to 364 on ES. Just in runners. Just took off one more on ES.
Now seeing the switch to information technology being the weakest sector in the SP 500, with the energy sector just behind it.
Some buying happening here into this low, as we can see. We've got this offer above, though. We're watching to see if we're going to trap here, or if we can hold this. This bid is a bit offside so far. We're taking in at 100s on NQ, but I don't see enough yet to really mean anything.
Seeing stocks Europe 600 index erasing gain, trading flat.
I'm watching this push down to 364 for our final contract and what happens. This guy can easily become our next area of interest if they can't hold this low. You can see the buying tail though, right? It's a good visual.
Seeing spot gold falling over 1% now.
Some absorption so far, but nothing confirmed as of yet, right? This candle's still open. We've got another 8 minutes on it. They're trying here. I'm trying to see if I can find an area to reload if need be. I have one contract left with a 408.50 average. We're just pushing up into this node. I'm watching our pivot as we push into
So spot
our,
gold
390.
dropping about 1.2% now, and silver falling 4.3% as the dollar pairs losses.
Good job, Zarman. And great job locking yourself out after you made money. No reason to give it back. Beautiful. Nicely done, my friend. Bro, the volume down here is crazy. I need to change my delta bubbles. Change this to 500 at least. This is my contract that I'm in right now. It's so hard to see with the delta bubbles on my actual trade. You can see me getting stopped out here, trying off of that 424, 432. And then we watched for the offer to really start to step in. Right, we can see those delta bubbles, the aggressive sell. I played off of that as we were pushing in with my risk at 420. So basically 10 points there, playing off of this, and then just playing this down into our lows. And now we're watching to see if we can get some sort of secondary here. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm just watching to see which way we go. But really nice flip from this bid that tried to happen here, and then the failure. And now watching to see if we get like a lower offer into our node here at 390. Let's see what they do. Into our 390 now. Watching. Again, we've got some decent absorption into our low. We are trying to see what we do as we come back up into this participant here. Really clear buyer offsides at highs that caused this giant move to the downside. So as we come in to interact with them again, we're watching to see how we're going to what our initial reaction is, right? So far it's to sell. Just keeping an eye on this, right? We got our initial pop off that. Are we going to now, hold this and fail and then rotate through, allowing for another leg down off this reaction? Or can we hold and start to build here and do something new? It's the same thing on NQ where they have to flip this for more. And we're just watching to see if this can fail again, once again, to hold this as a low. Keep an eye on these areas. It's 390, 395. Holding so far.
Also, just in regards to then the strongest sectors in the S&P 500, real estate being the leader at the moment, and materials. And I said earlier on, energy now the weakest, and information tech.
Okay.
ECB settled 1.7 trillion euros in public sector bond purchases. The ECB settled 224 billion euros in corporate bond purchases. ECB bond holdings under PEP at 1.33 trillion euros as of last week.
Okay, so this is now a really important test. Are we going to take in here and absorb into the same sellers before where these buyers were off sides? Or are we able to now sustain above this 395, 390, hold this as our low where these buyers have stepped in, right? We now have a choice that we have to make. Is this now our auction pivot? Or are we going to trap back up into these highs like we have drawn and then reoffer below these buyers below 390 for this rotation down? So this is where we're watching to see if this is now our supportive bid for a continuation up or a failure here and a rotation down. Remember, we have these guys who are offsides up into these highs and we're watching to see how we interact. NQ lagging a bit, but new 15's opening now. We're watching to see what we do now into our
The US
pivot.
is to sell $70 billion in 4-year bills June 11th to
We
settle on
want them
June
to
16th.
really try to hold this on this flip. Does that make sense? You can see where we're looking on NQ as well. We're watching this shift here. We want to see them try to take into here, but immediately bid. If they can do that, then we're good. If they fail here, then we're looking for sell side to then try to really waterfall this thing down. You can see them trying on the open of this new candle, right? Bids up into the highs though, sell side trying to step down. What do we need to see if this is going to hold? Well, look, we've got our sellers, right? Wait, we've got the buyers in the highs of this candle. We have sellers trying to push price down. So what do we need to see is them take in size here and get over these buyers and show that interest, and that leads us up, because then that's objectively buy side holding this and pushing, right? That's what we want to see in that sequence on this candle as we build this out. We can see where the buyers are. They're stuck at the highs. Sell side is trying to push us back into our pivot right now. You can see it, right? In real time, you can watch this auction being taken place. You can see where they're stuck right now. You can see buyers trying to defend this pivot. We have sellers in the mid. We need to see a lift from this area and then a rotation back up, or this is, again, like I said, we're going to stuff into this high, and they're going to try to shift us back below this 390 and offer it. If we do that, we then fly through this area, right? We're going to see a very clear absorption here, and then a pop back over this 400. Or again, like this is going to be a failed take for a higher low, and then rotation out.
CEO of Kuwait Petroleum Corporation says markets have absorbed the shock thanks to withdrawal from strategic reserves.
Do you see on NQ as well? Buyers stuck into that 249, offer stepped down, and now the bid is really trying to look back below for this pop. But if they can't do it, and then this offer holds here with these sellers, right? We then screw these guys, and then we rotate through. We can see them getting absorbed here, that seller into that low there. We are really trying to hold this as our pivot. Good initial reaction so far, trapping into that low. We need to see buyers now willing to step and then take these highs. Do you see how they did that? And how you can look at that as a try to push in, and then that becomes your risk with the sellers offsides here? So now you're trying, right, to play off of that low and then that look back up for that push. And then if we get this pop back over these guys where we absorbed and took in, right, then we get a nice follow through. But we've already taken in the size here. We're watching that interaction. So now you're watching this like 390 to 395 as your where you want that bid to defend on this look back up from where these guys just got taken in. We're watching to see if we can get over this 400, 401. And if we can get that secondary bid, then we get the bigger push. If they fail here, right, all we're going to be doing is trapping. And then as soon as that sell steps back below, we look for that sweep because they've failed at this auction. So watch them, see if they can take in here or if this is going to be a failure. Later, Sai. Are you guys able to visualize what I'm saying here with like this sequence, what we're seeing? Or no? So this is where they'll try to flip. So what just happened? Bid failed to push over those highs from our initial push, right? Offers stepped down and is now trying to defend this as our pivot, and these guys are now offside. So now we have buyers at the top of these candles, right? Into the top of these auctions, of our 50-minute auctions. They're offsides, and now offer is trying to now defend this edge for these rotations back down to our 380. We're watching to see our interaction here on retest, see if this can now hold. If they can hold it, then we will probably make a new low, would be my assumption, but let's see what they do. We're now playing off of this. Just keeping an eye on it. It's very two-sided here still, but we're watching to see if they do. Yeah, you have like very clear absorption into 395, 400, and you're just looking for the offer to step down below 300s and then
According to
hold
Nikkei,
from
Japanese PM and visiting Malaysian counterpart plan to issue joint statement that includes LNG and naphtha pledge. And they also seek to work on economic security with China's export restrictions on rare earth elements in mind.
They're still taking in into 395, 400, no change. Flat POCs on NQ below us at 180. Again, they're just taking in size here. We need to flip this. We have buyers being absorbed so far. They are trying to hold this. We are trying to build to get back over this, or we continue to absorb here, and then we're looking for secondary failures on the push down. That's all we're doing. We're just watching to see how this sequence plays out. Can we hold the higher low, or does this fail and push below? And can we see a secondary move? Right. That's
According to Sim for
all
Greers to visit Tesla in California
we're watching
Thursday.
for. We held our lows here on NQ where we absorbed into this identified participant. The bid was able to step up, push our pivot, coming back up into our shift where our big seller was that trapped this buy and then led to the downside. So if we can hold this and now auction here and step up above this, we might have a right side of V on our hands. If this continues to hold as resistance, we might have to build here in between. So look for a retest of this 220 to like 190 area, and then look to see if we can step up. But I expect the auction to be taking place in between these two areas here for the short term. And again, we can see where these guys were absolutely ruined, and we're just pushing into that right now, but trying to flip. This is basically where we took our original short, right? I took into this this 410, 420. And that's where we are right now on ES. We're pushing into this guy. Watching our retest of our pivots here on both NQ and
SpaceX's
ES.
IPO is said to be multiple times oversubscribed. So, a reminder, yesterday we had news that SpaceX's NASDAQ IPO is said to be well oversubscribed, closing IPO books on Wednesday post-close. Now it's getting a further reports that SpaceX's IPO is said to be multiple times oversubscribed.
We have a minute 50 left on this candle, retesting our pivots as we push back down into our 390, 395 area on ES and our 230, 200 area on NQ. Just watching to see if we find a bid here like we have drawn. Again, it's just the same seller as before. We are trying to build here at a higher low for continuation up if they're going to do it, or a failure here and then a rotation down, trapping these buyers up into these highs again. So far, pretty strong reaction off our pivot. Just need to see us then step up above where we just absorbed. New 15s.
Fed bids for 52-week bills total $3.2 billion.
fake absorption into 400, 405 so far on ES. Trying to shift below that 390 again here off that failure into our big pivot. NQ coming down to retest our liquidity from our previous candle. Right, into our POC here, into this 210. Watching to see if we find a bid that holds or if this fails. Offer trying to step down here again, once again on NQ. And yes. Do they get taken in?
Meta ordered by EU to allow rival AI chatbots free access to WhatsApp.
We really need to see like sell side really try here if it's going to do it, or we're just going to revert again. We've got a trapped buyer into 400, 405 that I like, but I need to see secondary sellers step in here like we've been talking about into this ledge from this look below, because if they continue to just do this two-sided auction here in between, I'm really not interested. I need to see secondary moves with the offer stepping down and willing to defend into this 90 to 95 area. Like they have to for us to get our next leg down. So let's see if they'll initiate. It's really important that they do. Or again, like it's just not worth your time right now. They're attempting, but nothing crazy yet.
So, a reminder at the bottom of the hour, we give the US 52-week bull auction, with the US looking to sell $50 billion with a prior bid to cover of 3.41, prior high yield of 3.65.
If you're playing off of the flip of our 90, the 75 area is your first risk off here into our value low, 76, 75. We're watching this lower node. If we can flip this, we get continuation down, just like we talked about with this buyer trapped into our highs, and then secondaries absorbed here into our 390. And now we push down into our low here. And we watch to see how we interact. You see that flip though? Is this visually clear? Do you see that or no? Like, it's okay if you don't. I can walk through it again, but does that make sense based off of what we just drew? Do you see that on the overlay? Like, you guys just witnessed an entire auction just take place. I'm out half here from our 390 down to this 370. And now let's see if we can get some continuation. So even with I have 10 MES left and we're at $1,200 in profit from just the 390, 395 pivot on the reoffer here on the flip. Once we saw these guys trapped. We're watching a push down to 354 on ES. Russell getting a little bid. I think we're going to retest our 58s would be my assumption here. Into this guy. And then we come down to 54. I just took off another 5 contracts on MES there. I have 5 left. As we push down into 54 to 35. Just a big pivot here. We need to push below this. This is our previous month value. So this is target, watching to see how we interact as we push down into this pivot. Continuation down, right? We haven't seen anything crazy yet. Right side of V, so hold runners, but just into our next target here on ES. This is our 4-week balance low and our previous month value low. So it's a pretty gigantic pivot. And if we shift below it, we're incredibly
Nasdaq
bearish.
extends drop to 1.5%.
So really watching to see what our interaction is going to be here. I'm going to walk through that auction in a second, because I think that was actually really solid for what we want to go through on like how to look at it on the 30-second chart or the minute, whatever you want to look at, but also how we can like literally watch the auction take place on Footprint. Just took off a little bit more here on ES. Pushing down into our lows here. Again, this is our previous month value low here at 37. Big pivot. Watching to see if we can flip and then hold this, or if this is going to take in size and then bounce. Russell continuing to just drop into our ETH low. No bid as of yet, so we shouldn't expect a bid in the rest of the market until we see that. Just continuation down. Again, I've just taken off risk and moved stops down as we push into our big pivot here, watching to see if we're going to find a reaction or not. All right. I want to show
Further declines in the S&P 500, now extending drop to 1%.
I want to show what we just did, because I think it's really kind of cool. What did we see happen here? What just happened in this auction at this 405 to our 395, which is this yellow zone? What do we see here on both our candles but with the auction itself? What can we identify? Well, we have offside trader in our highs above. We have a seller who stepped down, right? So we have this auction that's taking place where we have a known buyer here that's pushed price up, and we have a known seller here into these highs, right? Participant here, this is our offer. Buyer here, right? This is our bid. So now we have an auction that's taking place in between these two levels. We can see that the bid, right? This is the auction that took place, a rotation down, and then a bid that stepped up, and then rotated up into these highs, and we absorbed and re-offered, right? We took in size into this pivot where this seller stepped us down. So what we're watching
Nasdaq
here
100 continues to decline, now down about 2%.
is what? Are we going to trap someone here is what we're looking for, right? Are we going to be able to trap someone here, or are we going to be able to bid and then go for this
Surely
continuation
expecting
on the look
52-week
above
bull
our
option
405,
data.
395? That was what we had drawn, right? Was this bid that took place here, and then the lift over this seller to then show that we wanted to go up. That's this pivot here. Do we see that? So if we were going to hold, that would look like a hold of our POC and then a hold of our value high edge at our 405 to 395, right? That's what this is. Do you see that as a visual? what happens instead? Well, we take in here, we absorb, offer steps down, the bid tries, right? And we can see them getting taken in here, and the offer holding our pivot and pushing price down instead. Do we see how we make that lower high here? And this guy's now offsides. And then we push below, retest our POC and offer here, and then rotate down into our lows. But because we have trapped liquidity, we expect this low to be
52-week
taken,
high
right?
yield of 3.75%, bid cover 3.34.
So what do
With
we
the
look
US
for?
selling
Well,
$50 billion of 52-week bills.
this then becomes our risk, right? We are now
And awarding
watching this to now
70.95% of
hold
bids at high.
for this rotation down, right? And we can see that's where we're watching as well. We now have this offer below POC, and we're expecting at least a rotation down to here. And I expect this low to be taken because we now have this liquidity that's off sides. We just watched them get absorbed into these highs. Do you guys see that? Is that visually clear now from what we've been talking about? You can see it on the profile, but you can also see the auction take place that just caused that move to the downside. Right? So we watched for that absorption here into these highs. We knew that this is where that seller auctioned. With this failure to bid from here and then step us up, we saw instead absorption, our push below, and then
So
our
just
buyer
keep an eye
gets
on the
stuffed
VIX
here
and its
and then
movement. So
slammed
since
down.
12.10, it was at about 17.72. Now currently at about 20.55.
I think that's a pretty solid reference. But like you need to just like watch these auctions take place. Like your job is to watch this on your candle structure on something that you recognize, but follow this auction on Footprint to see how these interactions take place. And then you'll be able to like understand when I'm saying like, oh, this looks like a reoffer. Oh, look, they're absorbing into here, right? Like we can watch that happen in real time, right? That's the whole point that I'm trying to get at is like, you can see this auction taking place. Your job is to be able to watch these and be looking at these interactions and being like, oh yeah, look, like I can see that edge. I can see where our value is currently on this candle. And I understand why this bid is happening and where this guy is going to be offsides. We can visualize that on Footprint. That's the whole point. So we'll have it right next to each other. You can watch this auction take place live. And we can see what we do here at our pivot on the look back below. So what's happening currently on this candle on NQ? Yeah, no, you literally just need screen time. You need to be able to watch an auction take place and you need to be able to see this. Like that's how you, without it, you're kind of blind, no? Like yesterday when you were trying to buy the highs and you couldn't see the absorption, right? And then you didn't flip. It's like it's fine to look for the break continuation, but if you continue to see these buyers on the wrong side of this candle and off sides and you see sellers stepping down, you need to know that you're on the wrong side, right? And like, no, this auction isn't complete, right? But we can see where these buyers are outside of value right now on the upside, right? We can see that this auction took place like this, and now they're trying to lower it and they're trying to flip. We have a two-sided auction that's taking place right now, right? Between this low and this high. And we're watching to see what that interaction in between these two participants looks like. And if we can flip below and see a sweeper below that, or if a bid can step back up, trapping these guys into our low. Right now we have two areas of interaction where we're watching to see what happens. We have these guys who are stuck above, right? And then we have these guys who are stuck below. It's two-sided, and we're trading outside of our value, right? But we can watch this, and we can watch to see where we want to see this bid step up and start to show excitement above this area. We can watch to see where the seller is going to want to try to lower the offer, right? They want to make a lower high where we aren't able to push above this 80 now, right? And then we step below that 40 for that continuation. You'll know then, like, oh yeah, like we're going somewhere, right? And we can look at that as a visual on our candles as well off of this little distribution we just made, just by putting a fixed range on it, right? We can see the same thing. We're watching to see what our interaction is here between these two participants. And we can see where we want to step down, but with a visual aid of actual order flow. Right, so you can reference both, so you can watch the auction take place and watch the participants get trapped, but you can also see it, right, just with a visual of what you actually want to be expecting. You can see we're holding on ES. There's no change, right? We're just building below off of our bid here at our, we're trying to hold previous month value low right now as resistance here at 38. If we can hold this pivot, then we have another leg down to our top of our gap at 298. So it's a pretty big deal if we hold here and then push below, right? And we can watch, like, this auction is taking place here on ES as well. Like, these guys are kind of fucked right now, right? You can see how top heavy this candle is and just being absorbed into our pivot here. So what happens if these guys sweep these lows with all of this liquidity offside into our highs? Right now you have like a visual of where you want to be looking for that offer to hold and your risk, right? Like, where are we watching? Well, I'd love to see these guys continue to maintain if we're going to get this rotation to the downside, and we're looking to see if they'll sweep this low or if we're going to continue to just chop. But now I know where I want that interaction to be occurring, right? No take of our lows yet. But if we do, right, like, this becomes like a very clear risk for me of where I'm going to be looking for that interaction. Again, still just two-sided. But we'll watch this guy now to see if they'll hold. Just keep an eye on this. Watch to see if we build. Remember, we just watched this on the last temp where we were top heavy, and then we watched sell side sweep through the lows and then build here and then continue us down. We'll watch for the same interaction. Right now, we're just trading within value. There's no change as of yet, but we know where they want to take in. We can see it. So let's watch to see if they can hold this low, and this seller is now trapped here. And then if we can bid above,
China
or if they're going
released
to
second
continue to
batch
take
of fuel
in
export
and then
quotas
rotate us below
totaling
this.
18 million metric tons, the same as earlier, same as the year earlier, according to sources.
I'm going to put a fixed on this as well. Russell holding higher lows, held our lows here on ES and NQ so far, pushing above. So I know what I want to see, right? We now either have to hold this bid at a top and then get a really nice bid, or we'll look back through this and then trap this liquidity. We have no right side of V yet, but we know where we want them to defend. So far, every take outside of value has just been eaten, and we can see that, them stepping down. We need to see a very clear hold of this high, or this will be where they take in size, and then we just fail. Again, we can watch this visual. We know that there's a huge seller above us. We know that they're taking in the bid here. We have no confirmation yet that they can hold a higher low at all. It's a two-sided auction with a seller in control. What's a good sign of when the sell will potentially come. Well, when Russell stops with the momentum, right? So we just watch to see where that's going to happen. But if Russell continues up, we'll watch to see if we can hold these highs where this bid is currently getting absorbed. And we can see that by the wicking, right? Away from that area very quickly. So we have two, we're watching to see from these lows, can we, bid and hold our value high here? Can we actually sustain on this look with RTY, holding this range and retesting? Or are we taking in here, failing, and then rotating down on a sweep, right? Failing to hold these highs and then rotating through our range. I don't have an answer for you yet, but I know that we'll wait until we start to see this retest and hold of this very clear pivot that we've now made. This like 900 to 920 on NQ is going to be incredibly important if we're flipping. Just watching this retest and this into this area. You can see that visually as well. Like this is really important if we're going to push back up to POC of previous candle here, or if this is going to fail. Just watching this. RTY losing momentum into our pivot. We've now trapped into these highs a little bit. We're coming back down to our main level, right? This is our value edge. We need to see a very clear bid defend this, or again, sell side will take advantage of this, and then we'll look for these guys to then be trapped. Just keeping an eye on it. Nothing yet. Watching our retest now. This is again our value edge. We can watch to see where these buyers are interacting here, right? They're going to try to hold the highs. Same thing on ES. We're watching Russell for that higher low as well. New 15s are about to open. See what they can do with this. Offer is taking in into 920. Bid is trying to hold this this high. It's just two-sided here. Very tight. You can see that auction taking place into this edge, right? Do you see now? Like, is that like, is this good? I feel like visually, like this is so much better for you guys to be able to see what I'm talking about. No? Like you can actually watch this auction take place. Yes. Right on our pivot, and you can visualize what that actually looks like on candles at the same time. You see buyers step over this 20, show interest, or it's Jover. Or can I switch my candles to look like that in TradingView? Yeah, you can definitely switch your candle to look like that in TradingView. It's just the display type is a profile instead of a cluster. So before I was visualizing it like this for you guys because I thought it was an easier visual, right? Just the POC to value. Look, we're holding value previous candle. You can see this auction taking place. Look, we're making a higher low. We're holding POC to value high, right? Look, this is what the right side of the V looks like in a trade. Do you see how the difference between this and this? But you can now see that auction taking place here. But it's the same thing. POC to value is holding is supportive. We're trying to step over this 20. It's the same thing, but just instead of watching and seeing that the shape, right, you just have the actual profile. So you can see more so where the size is of the deltas. So this is what we usually have on as a kind of a, a very super basic footprint just to show you the shift in value. This is now taking it a step further and actually showing you how that distribution is forming within the candle a bit more clearly. Yeah. Bid will be at 32. There's nothing here until we flip 32 to 26 on ES. Just a range rotation with the failure to step up. We can see these guys trapped above our 20. No ability to actually sustain over. Coming back down to retest this low. Right, we can see that higher low. Sorry, the lower high that just got put in with these traders trapped here on this sequence. We want to watch to see now if these guys are going to be trapped liquidity off of a failed break, right? A failed look above and hold. Can we now do something with that, right? Is this now the fuel that we need from this failure to then rotate us back through and then offer this? Or do we sustain here, right? And then pop and then show interest over that high? We don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. They're testing now, right? Right now we're just into our POC to value of our previous candle. We have found an initiative bid, but we know that that offer is taking in here into this 20. We need to see a very clear step up from this hold. So we held where we needed to. Now we're looking above. If they can bid this, this is huge for us. We held where we needed. Looking for that big push now. We want to see a great retest here. RTY double topping on our highs. No ability to really do anything with this move. Why is it 1 minute? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing.
Oil futures extend losses. US crude down by $4 a barrel after the US embassy in Jerusalem lift shelter in place. US energy chief says the Strait of Hormuz oil exports will continue to rise.
Exact same auction as before, where we took in on the highs. We now have failed. We're now rotating. We want to see them get stuck into these lows now for the reoffer, right? We know what that now looks like. It's the same as before. Let's see if there's follow through or if they fail. Like my Tradeify one? Or what do you mean? Really good hold and offer so far with Russell leading down off of that failure, pushing. One second, Cass. I'm trading.
The Nasdaq 100 extends dropped to 2.5%.
Looking for one more leg down. If we can get this reoffer on ES down to 300 for the gap. Russell leading. Bro, I love this sequence where we have a failed bid to take out the highs, and then we rotate through, and then
So
see
surely
aggressive
expecting the
sells.
EIA STEO report.
Like these guys are just so stuffed into highs. My footprint on Tradeify? I mean, I just run a 15, so there's nothing crazy. This is what it looks like. This is my like order flow setup.
So just wait on these two report now.
Just looks like this. So we can see like this absorption that took place into our delta bubbles here, right? Buyers really tried but failed into this node. And then we can see them here as well, visualized into this this 20. But it's nothing crazy. Relying off of this delta histogram really and profile the most. And then just watching as we build here. And we can see them get taken in. And then we can see that offer lower here. That's really it. And there's nothing crazy. Most of my like this footprint is much better right now on TradingView for the visualization. I don't really worry about the smaller time frame stuff. I just play off of the 15-minute structure and our absorption that we can visualize with the delta axis. Nah. Watching our reoffer here as we push up. Do you see how we're trying to build now below our balance?
Steer
these
data
buyers
coming
trapped
through
in
now.
these highs.
So EIAC's 2026
watching
US
our
oil output of
offer.
13.7 million barrels per day. There's a prior forecast of 13.65 million barrels per day. Sees 2027 output of 14.15 million barrels per day, previously seen at 14.1 million barrels per day. And see natural gas output of 111 BCF a day versus prior forecast of 110.6, and sees 2027 demand of 113.6 BCF a day versus the prior 115.
Watching as we push in
EIAC's
here.
2026 Brent average price of $95.39 a barrel versus prior forecast of $94.85 a barrel. They see 2027 forecast of $79.39 a barrel versus previous forecast of $79.39 a barrel. Also, EIAC's WTI price average of $88.32 a barrel versus prior forecast $85.68 a barrel. 2027 forecast of 74.39, 24 forecast of $74.39 a barrel versus prior of $74.39 a barrel.
Watching our pivot here toward 25 to 32. I just tried to add there on the retest, and you can see my stop now on this runner is I've just moved my average down with this entry here into into this delta into our 25s, which is what we have marked, right? To this 32. My stop is now just break even at 40. I have 7 contracts on. Just watching to see what we do here. Can we hold, or do we rotate back in, trapping this liquidity below? But I think it'll be dependent on what Russell does. Might need to come back up to this halfway back first.
We have posted out the full report for you in the feed for you to read through. Seeing oil futures extending losses, Brent crude down by $4 a barrel, and US crude down by 5%.
You see how we just tested into our value of our previous 15-minute candle and footprint? We trapped into those highs, and now offer is trying to step
Iran
down.
Defense Ministry says that Iran will speed weapons production, according to IRNA.
Do we see why that, like, looking at that area and our value edge test makes sense to try to hold and trap here, and then we need to watch this sell step down. If Russell can lead, we're going to be in a great place. But that's why that, like, 25 area is very good. This is like the value of our previous candles here into our low. We can see this buyer and get kind of stuffed, right? Just as a reoffer. And then we're watching them now rotate this back through this entire auction that took place. And we're hoping for a sweep at these lows, ideally, to break it and then, get that next leg. But I think it's a great visual of you, like, literally watching a reoffer happen and take place into these. You can see that again, just into our value edge. And we see it on NQ into our pivot, and then our rotation down through. And now you can see sell side trying to step on the gas here into our lows. So then I'm like, I want speed, right? Now you can see like a very clear visual of what that looks like the aggressive action from sellers below, trying to now push this thing down into next target. So now, again, like our ad feels pretty good. And I'm going to take off a little, and now I'm going to lower our risk now to this 22 average. I've taken off half, and now that's my new average. And let's see what they do here. Yeah, that's fine. I think like it can be a really great learning day. If you don't want to trade, I totally get it. But these kind of days are incredibly volatile, and it totally makes sense
Treasury yields extend slide as oil prices fall further.
to not be comfortable or to have already made your money and just watch. I mean, this is such a good day to trade micros, man. This is just like money with the rotations we're getting. I mean, I have 5 micros left on MES here from our 25 offer, and it's $500. Like that's crazy. Retesting lows. RTY new low, leading, and keep following. ES coming down into our gap at 300. This is next target off of our reoffer, and now rotation through. Taking off half here. You see what I mean? Like, look at that. Boom. Look at that. Beautiful. Great average down. Playing off of this node here with these buyers trapped above. Right? So what's always the catalyst? We wait for a trap, right? So these guys are off sides. We look for the lower high.
It's getting further declines now in the S&P 500.
Look for the push through, and then we play off of the reoffer, and then we look to add based off of that once we have a catalyst and a range breakdown, and then we play off of that liquidity, and then we play into target.
EIA says it now assumes oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz resume in Q3 of 2026.
Do you guys have questions, or is this okay, or is this like too complex? Do you want me to stop and just go back to what I usually do? I'm really trying to like teach you as we go and like explain why what we're looking for and why like the continuations happen, right? Because if you can see why continuations occur, right, failures to break out, right, failures to shift the paradigm, if we can see these guys literally get offsides, right,
In US,
it
says
allows
EIA
for
says
us
it
to
does
then
not
take.
expect Strait of Hormuz traffic to ramp up to pre-Iran level until early 2027.
Right, like
So again, EIA says it does not expect Strait of Hormuz traffic to ramp up to pre-Iran war level until early 2027.
it makes like these moves all of a sudden start to make sense when we see these traders get trapped. And then we can watch that sell side like really try to step down, and then it's like, oh well, why do we bounce where we bounce?
EIA expects some Middle East output to remain disrupted beyond STO forecast that runs through the end of next year.
New 15s. The offer is trying to hold this like 308, 315. This is where the current auction is taking
EIA says
place.
Strait of Hormuz disruption forced Middle East producers to cut output by over 11 million barrels per day in May versus pre-war level.
Trying to just flip this now. This guy's a bit stuffed here into highs. Offer trying to sweep through now. Watching Russell to see if we get the lead. See the same thing on NQ off of the POC retest. This guy's a bit trapped into our open. And now we're punishing as in pushing down. Russell leading down. What's up, man? Just took off one more on ES from our 322.
EIA says OECD oil inventories are expected to fall to the lowest since 2003. Seeing the Canadian dollar weaken to the lowest level since December against the US dollar.
Something else I did that you guys will like is I completely redid the tool that controls our levels. So our weekly and daily levels now are in a really cool format. It's in the indicators. Here, let me save this so that it's in our layout, but it's now visualized like this. So let me turn off all drawings. So we have our weekly levels, right? So this is our hourly chart, and we have our daily levels, and it's all, check this out. It's all in one indicator, and you can just copy and paste them and format how you want. And it's just a clear flip. I can turn off our weekly levels and turn on just the daily, and it's fully customizable. And if I want just our weekly levels on for the higher time frame chart, right? And then you just are gonna be able to copy and paste these areas directly in. And then all of your levels and zones are done. So it's one indicator for both the weekly and daily. And we can see what our daily levels look like from that as well. Right, like this is ES. And this is what that looks like. This is our top of gap here and into our VPOC. This is our next target on ES.
EIA now expects global oil demand to decline this year, reversing earlier forecast of marginal increase.
This was our look below and fail from our daily, right? We just did that, and now we're pushing down into the next target off of that.
See the Nasdaq 100 index extending to decline to 3.4%.
Russell leads down, continuation.
So again, a reminder with the group of chip makers that power the run from the war-driven lows came under renewed volatility, erasing a rally, which had earlier sunk about 5.5%. Then in regards to oil declining as well, you had oil that declined on hopes that the US and Iran are getting close to a deal to end their conflict, which helped ease concern about inflation, driving bond yields lower. Again, no specific news that's come through in the day since about 10 o'clock in the morning.
All right, I'm out. That was a beautiful continuation trade that we just played. Look at that. Now let's see if we can find anything new, but I think that that was a great reoffer. Just a beautiful sequence there. Into that delta. at our 25. Rotation down into target here. All right, let's see what they do. Yeah, I'm like really focused on indicator work right now, and building things out that are all automated. So like this, again, this is the system that I'm building. It's like fully automated of like where we're looking for offers to occur. I'm just gonna go through this real quick, hide drawings. So like, we have this shift down, right? And this is where we're watching for that liquidity to be taken into this retest here. And you can see this is our 25. And this is basically them just coming into this liquidity. And we're just looking for them to take into this and then push down from that area, right? So like all of this stuff is now being like marked automatically for you. And we're looking for these kind of fills for this continuation off of footprint. I'm going to keep working on it, but I'm really liking how it's turning out. It was an insane move overnight. Check this out. This was our Globex session. It caught this low at our 390, 395, and then bid off of it, and then pushed, and then we had this really nice breakout that I then played up for this entire sequence. And then it called the breakdown as well, and then played the shift back through. But like called the absorption short term, found the breaker block where we rebid, called out the rebid. That's what that RB stands for. Created the zone, played the rotation, and then like right into this liquidity here. So like this entire sequence is now being automated, and it's calling out like our shifts. It's calling out where we're looking for the reoffers to occur, which is what this is. It's kind of sick. And watch, you can see what it looks like on NQ as well for this entire sequence that we just did. So this morning at 10, it called out the absorption into our highs from this liquidity here. And then the sequence where we POC to value, right? We opened below it. So potential breakdown out of this range, and then lower highs with a shift of our trend. And then it found some absorption from these lows from Globex. And then our shift and then offer here. You can see like liquidity was taken into this low, but then we failed here. This was that auction that we just played. This rotation down. Still working on it, but like a lot of this is now like fully automated and tracking. This was the auction here on NQ yesterday in Globex where we found this absorption and then this shift and reversal. Absorption into our highs, shift and rotation back through. And then this sequence that occurred here. Then that resulted in this breakdown. And then this liquidity being taken on the reoffer. Right, that then led to this shift down. So it's starting to look pretty nice, especially if we can use this with another tool. But it's just like it's a great aid, right? It's not like it doesn't trade for you. It's nothing crazy, but what it is doing is breaking down our zones and breaking down our shifts. And my rule set is pretty solid for like what absorption actually is and what we're looking for continuation. And then of course, like just being able to look at these individual little like 15-minute auctions, right? And being able to then be like, oh yeah, like look, we are shifting. There's a bid at the low that's absolutely screwed, right? Like this guy's ruined down here at 76 where I closed, right? And now we're flipping back above, and now like we have a very clear zone of control where these participants who are outside of value, right? If we can now hold this candle for the next 3 minutes inside this auction, or even close above this auction, right? This this value, right? Like we were absolutely punishing these participants who are outside of value here into this low. And then it's like, okay, well, where are we gonna then trade towards? So then it's like, well, we've got these participants up here that are offsides, and then we have this lower auction that occurred where we shifted downward, right? So I'm going to be watching our pivot here for the most aggressive seller possible, right? Which would be into the low here from POC to value of our previous candle. But if we need to come back up, we know that this is where we'll head for that reoffer to trap. So we're going to be watching basically from this low, can we see a higher bid that then pushes into this? And then does this offer then hold and absorb here and then get back below for this continuation down? This then becomes our pivot, right? POC to value of this current candle where this buyer sits to see if they can slap this thing down from this reoffer that we just did. And if they can, and we see an aggressive sell start to take place here, an absorption into this low, right below our value, we'll then be able to continue down. But if they hold here, right, at this 50 to 475 is what we're watching on NQ. It's a large zone, I understand, but it's a very volatile day. But like if we can hold here and this bid is able to maintain and then we pop back over, we know that we are headed back up to these highs to then do this, to then test this auction again. And then this is either going to then, wrap down and then rotate like this, or really start to move back up, to come back up to this liquidity here. So let's see what they do. We've got a really nice pivot here at this, like I said, like this 530, 475 area we're watching. Let me highlight it so that you can see it. And same thing on ES, like very, very clear here into these lows we're watching. And we can watch and see where this offer is as well into our highs. So I'm going to turn this off, and then we're going to go back to our other screen so you can see it on the candle chart. And we'll watch our reactions into these areas that we just marked. Now with our new understanding of where we want to see this higher low be able to form. Holding POC of previous candle so far. We can see sell side really trying to slam this thing down into our lows. Russell starting to lead down again. Let's see if we can get a nice reoffer down here, or if it traps. Watching Russell to allow us to let us know. Into our value low of previous candle, right? With a very sell side heavy auction that's taking place right now. The one thing I don't see in what's happening right now is a trapped bid at highs, right? We just have sellers pushing down from our previous. And we hold where we need to, right? As of right now on both, with Russell still not making a new low. So this auction doesn't feel complete to me. No ability to step down, take out these lows and reoffer. All we've done is trap so far on sell. But the bid really hasn't done anything, right? We haven't seen any excitement over 20s yet. Just very two-sided, but no real trap other than like this guy who just got kind of ruined here to this low. But I want to see like this bid really try to step up here and hold, and I want follow through, right? This is what we're talking about when we say follow through, because like what did we just do now potentially if we don't get the follow through? What are we doing here? Potentially trapping, right? If we can't actually do something with this bid. So let's keep an eye on this and see what they do. So far we held where we needed to. I want to see us then like show that interest here now. This is that first level, our sell, right? So we failed at our lows. Now let's see if we fail at our highs or if we can actually bid. Remember, we've already identified where we want to be watching. We know sell side just failed at the lows. We're now watching to see if the bid is going to step up here for the higher low to rotate us up here, or if we can trap here and then get that offer below this pivot for that continuation down. Remember what that looks like, right? We've already identified what we want to see for both sides. So like if they can't do anything with this, right? If we don't see this bid be able to hold, what does this do? This traps, right? And then we look for that secondary below again, and then this becomes our reason to take a trade. It's like these guys are then absolutely
Seen the
ruined. They
CPO
couldn't do anything
volatility
with
index
it.
hitting the
And then
highest
we
since
look
April
below.
7th. Last up 2.72 points at 21.64.
But we need a reason to want to look for that continuation trade. So we look for these guys to get stuffed, or we look for them to hold, right? And then we look for this break above. But we need to see this acceptance happen. We know that this is where that seller sits, right? Short term. We know this is where the buyer sits short term. We just saw sell side fail at the lows. Now we're watching to see
Iran's
what buy side
Galabaf
does at
says
the
that we
highs.
prefer the language of diplomacy.
Okay, I'm switching back over so you can see that again. You can see ES just rejected where we wanted it so far. But again, like the bid is still here. They're present. We need to flip this, show that this is trapped liquidity and sell side wants to step down. Right now, we just rotated through that range.
Also, Galabaf says, break your commitments and we'll switch to what we speak best.
We're watching Russell to help us lead.
Saying that
our
you ride the horse
decision-making.
you saddled.
We can see them really trying to take in here at 540, 510, this area here. They're really trying to shift this down, take in size. ES is like the clearest pivot of all of them, just this 305 to 315. Good bid so far, holding our lows, right? Like they're trying to bid. We can see the buy side auction trying to make this start the right side of V, right? We can see them trying to make these higher lows off of that failure at the low from sellers to shift the auction down again, right? We can see it. But it doesn't matter if they continue to attempt here, but then it fizzles out, right? Because then all we do is trap, and then sell side says, okay, great job, boys. You just created a new liquidity event for us. And then they shift us back below, and then we have new liquidity to punish, right? We need follow through here. That's why we always talk about that, is like, I'm glad we're making the higher lows, but if we can't do anything with it, right, all we do then is trap this liquidity above us and then fail and then take advantage of it. That's why that secondary move is so important. It's like, oh yeah, we got our first look. That's great. Now let's do something with it. Because if not, right, like this then is just trap traders. And then when we break one of these edges, right, that's when we start to look, because now we have a catalyst at either our high or at our low, depending on which way we breach. Does that make sense or no? Do you get what I'm saying? It's an important concept. Like, we can see this playing out, but it's like, why are we looking for what we're looking for? Remember, like when we visualize a trade, we're looking for a catalyst first, right? That's what we have a checklist. We need a participant to be playing with. We need a reason to be looking for a trade. Right? A setup isn't just because we're in a zone. A setup is because we see an active participant that we're playing with at a zone that we care about. We want to be in a trade that has potential to move very quickly, right? And immediately. Big sell off of that reoffer. They just absolutely stuffed these guys.
Trump on Truth Social says, I have just been informed by a great military that last night the Iranians shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz.
Let's watch this retest.
It also says that nevertheless, the US must of necessity respond to this attack. Seeing some further downside movement on the S&P 500 and upside movement on the dollar off the back of those that come from Trump.
We've got major selling at 275, 280. That would be your most aggressive reoffer, which is what we just did. Keeping our eye on that. Russell leading down.
Seeing US stock indexes extending to fall, Dow Jones down 1%. Oil pairing losses, Brent crude trading back above $92 a barrel, again off the back of Trump's Truth Social post.
I'd like them to create an entry for us if you're not already in off of that absorption here into our 305. I'm gonna watch for a reoffer. See if we can find it. I'm not too worried about this. Very clear that we just punished those guys into those highs though. But I was hoping that we were going to get a nice retest, but you know, it newsed. So now we got to keep an eye on this for a secondary. Feels bad, but you know, it is what it is. What matters is that we weren't on the wrong side of this trade, and it's just a continuation, and we watched those guys get trapped in those highs.
So did see some movement towards the upside. On WTI, it went from about $86.40, jumping to about $89.48.
Again, I'm going to keep an eye on this like 275. Just this guy here. See what we do. Into this. I expect some of this to be retraced. This is punishment from these bids off sides, right, into our highs. So it makes sense that we got this really aggressive move off of that news, but now we should be able to get a nice reoffer if we're just patient. So let's just let's watch this. Let's see what we do. Again, like a squeeze down totally makes sense, but without follow through, most squeezes then retrace. So we watch to see how we interact into our most aggressive reoffer, And if they want to hold this, sick, right? Then we get continuation down. If they don't want to hold this, then we'll probably come all the way back up because we don't have follow through. Remember, we're just punishing buyers that were up into those highs into that news event. So like now we have an idea for potential secondary sellers to step in at a lower high without needing that retrace, and we're watching that area here to see if that's going to occur. If Russell wants to continue down, if we want to hold this as our pivot, great. We'll watch to see how they form here. It's not as clear for me on NQ at this area. Not enough info yet. It's a incredibly thin auction on NQ, all the way up to like 470. But it's much better on, much clearer on ES as we push into this like 65-75 area.
It's gold extending losses as Trump says Iran shot down helicopter and the US must react to the Iran attack.
We watch for Russell lost momentum. We can see these buyers getting a bit stuffed so far into the 65, 64 area, right? We can watch it. We can literally visualize it. We can see the offer trying to step down now, right? We've got this little two-sided auction that's taking place.
Also seeing emerging market FX index erasing gains as Trump cites response to Iran attack.
Again, like this would be the most bearish response, would be us trying to hold in here. Remember what we were visualizing for Alf. I don't think this is in the same spot anymore. Damn, that sucks. This is where it was. Right, we just got that offer, right, into here, and then we got our flip down into target. Now we're watching to see what we do with it. It sucks that this was news-based because we didn't get a great entry, but now we have to watch to see if we're going to aggressively sell here. But like what we were looking for played out. We just didn't get the reoffer because it was a news event. Again, now we're watching to see if sell side is going to maintain the lower high or fully retrace this move back up to our original area of interest. Really keeping our eye on this 65-75 area to see if sell side is going to be aggressive. If not, I'd fully expect a rotation back up. So again, let's watch to see how we interact here. We want to see full momentum loss across market participants if we're going to do it. Just watching, seeing if we can hold here, trap any liquidity into this. See if Russell can come down. Again, not as clear on NQ, but we're trying to build out this area. It was a very thin sweep down that we did, but we have a very clear pivot above that I'd love to be able to play around. New 15's opening now. We can see this bid trying to step up. We're going to watch to see if we absorb in here and then can rotate back below this. Again, if they don't want to step down to the lower high, we will just fully retrace this squeeze. Remember, like it's where all we did was punish buyers, right? From those highs, and then we just swept through, liquidating them. But like if there's no follow through, there's no follow through. So we really want to be watching this area to see if they're going to stuff, right, and then push back through, or if we're going to have to hold here and then rotate back up into this absorption and then go. So we just keep an eye on this auction that's taking place here. We know that there's a seller here. We know that there's a major seller here. We're watching to see as they push in, can we get below and offer this? We know where this interaction wants to occur. You can see buyers really trying to defend this edge. watching Russell lose momentum potentially here into our halfway back, get below. I'm taking these buyers on NQ here into these highs. See if this is our absorption, if we can start to push and trap these guys now into these highs. What's up, Roy? Yeah, huge move, man. Yeah, it's crazy. But I love it. It's like my favorite markets to play. Fast and volatile. Lots of points. You can just like play a couple micros and make hundreds and hundreds. Or a couple minis. Dude. Ain't no way. Later, man. Very clear lower high here at our 75.80. Trying to get below 65s for continuation on ES. 65 bid is trying to hold. Offer needs to sweep below this 55.65 for continuation down. Very clear auction that's taking place here. This is now our pivot into this. Again, like we've trapped into these highs, right? And now we're trying to move this offer down. And if we can like hold here, we're in a really good position for another continuation. We just gotta watch it and see if we can keep these lower highs and see if this offer will shift, right? With these guys who are outside of value now. So we just keep an eye on this retest here and see if this liquidity is now going to hold. Same thing here on ES. Got to get below this. Very two-sided. Really just watching Russell to see if we get the break back down to lows or if they can hold the higher low. We'll see. Again, we've identified our participant that we're watching. Can they remain? Can we get below? What's going on? See, like, isn't it cool being able to like actually see the people who are like offsides, you know, and like being able to visualize that of being like, oh, I know what I'm looking for now. It's like, oh, I can see where these two sides are participating and where I want to see this sweep through and like where I want to see action actually taking place. It doesn't have to play out,
So reminder,
right? But
at
like
the
now
top of
you
the
have an
hour, give the
understanding
US
of why
with
and
the
where.
3-year note auction with a prior bid cover of 2.54, prior high yield of 3.965%. The US looking to sell $58 billion of 3-year notes. So just ahead of this then, JP Morgan, interest rate strategist and late Monday note, said the auction will likely benefit from the higher level of outright yields and supportive valuations offset by a challenging macro backdrop. Latest CFTC positioning data shows speculators were net short 1.4 million 5-year note futures, a possible source of covering demand.
Again, you're just watching to see if we can make a lower high here and defend these offside participants who are outside of value. And if we can then get below this low, right, from there, with Russell holding this and breaking these to head back down to our lows. Right, we have a two-sided auction right now that's taking place, and we have these guys who are offsides above, but we have a bid that's below, right? So we're just watching to see how this interaction is going to occur. Can we hold and then shift below for this continuation down like we talked about? Same thing here on ES. Can we get this flip with Russell leading down? And can we continue to maintain that these guys are, going to remain offsides or not? Or does this bid continue to hold in our lows? Do you see what I'm saying here? Can you see this visually of who's offsides here and why we're looking for that, especially with the value profile here, and where we're looking for that offer to step down through this area if we're going to get that next leg, and why we just wait for the Russell to start to show that weakness as well, and we just play off of that high. That becomes your risk. Right? Like this is just our value low. So this is your first take profit until we can get below this because it's the full value rotation with this liquidity trapped. And we're looking for a continuation down now. There's no follow through until we can get that next leg. It's just a value rotation with trapped liquidity above until we can offer the value low as resistance. I'm out a couple contracts here on ES into our low, watching to see if we can flip this for continuation. Just taking off a little risk, just in case we don't. Watching our reoffer into 70. See if we put in a lower high or if we'll do the full rotation here. My stop is just at 80.75 on my final contracts here, just in case. Just watching to see. Again, we're just in a value rotation right now, but playing off of these highs. 70 average. Just watching to see if we can hold this or if this is going to fail, and we hold lows instead and then we rotate up. All we know is that this liquidity is trapped and that we're in an overall downtrend, and we're watching just for Russell to
About 3
start to
minutes
lose
ago, now
it.
to with the US 3-note auction. The prior high yield of 3.965%, prior bid cover of 2.54.
Here, like I said, like this is just how I've positioned. Just playing off of this high where we've identified someone, right, on NQ and ES. And we're watching to see if we can continue to maintain that high and put in lower highs and then get below this 55, right, where this sell side is getting absorbed. We can see that buyers are getting absorbed into this this 75, 65 area. So we're trying to play with the overall direction of trend, but we understand, right, like this is very two-sided right now. So we have a very clear pivot here at our like 81 basically, and we have a very clear pivot here at our lows. And so we're taking off risk into a known level of liquidity, right, our value low here, so that we can make this trade free and we can watch without any stress, right? If we start to step up, it's okay. I've already taken off risk, right? I've closed out 2/3 of my position. This is a profitable trade as is. And we knew that like taking off liquidity, taking off risk here makes sense, right? It's a known area of interest. And if we can't shift below, right, we're going to go back up. And that's okay. It's okay to get stopped out. It's okay. We took profit. We played the trade. What made me sell at this high? Just look into that 75-80 area here, right? Just watching the sell side push. I was looking to see how we were going to interact into this imbalance that was created. And then we saw us get back into this value. So just playing off of that as a push down with Russell into our pivot. That was a reason. That's all. I just got stopped out, by the way. Let's see if this flip holds. Right, we're just playing between these two participants.
Less than a minute ago now till we get the win issued for 3 year. About 10 seconds ago to the win issued.
So we're coming back up to these trap traders here. Remember, this is what caused that giant move to the downside with
4.189%. 4.189% for the one issued.
So all we've done is retrace our news candle. Nothing new about this auction. You said what made you sell it that high? So I was watching just where we had our aggressive sell down, right? And that was into we started to see some like initial absorption into 65.75, which made me think that maybe we were going to hold that sweeper down. That's all. It's just like that was the most aggressive area if we were going to sell and not retrace the entire squeeze. Trying here into this low where we saw our first initial look, right? Like here. This is a good way to describe it. Is this was our, does that make sense? Like this was where the bid was last. So if the offer was going to try to step down, I'd expect that they would try to defend where buyers were previously, right? So that's why I was trying here. So our risk just becomes right? Basically like trying to play off of
Surely
this
expecting the
into
rest of the
80.
data now for the 3-node auction.
So like if sell side was serious, I'd expect them to try to hold this low and then try to trap here and then rotate us down. So like all we then do is we notice the high or low bid, we push up.
High
I'm now
yield of
looking to see if we can trap in
4.192%,
here
bid cover of
and then offer
2.64.
and then rotate
So the
this.
US sells
And then
$58 billion of 3-year notes, awards 42.92% of bids on high. Primary dealers take 15.28%,
this was the idea.
direct 21.01%, and indirect 63.71%.
Does that make sense, Keith? But instead of failing at the lows, right, we bid, held, and then made the higher low, and now we're just
So
fully
it's a tail of
retracing
0.3 basis points.
fully retracing the move, which is what we thought would happen if we didn't hold here, which is why our risk was so tight and why we took off. And now we're just back into this range again, right? This is an incredibly important area to see if we're going to shift or if they're just going to absorb here again. Let's see what they do. We have momentum until Russell stops making higher lows. Just watching. I'm not in anything. I'll be right back.
So seeing here from Axios, Iranian drone hit US helicopter and got it to crash. So again, from Axios saying Iranian drone hit US helicopter and got it to crash.
So I know that this is really fast paced and it's going to be really hard if you're new to this kind of trading to follow along. I highly recommend that you put on the same settings I have on our footprint and watch Globex. It's much slower and you can watch these auctions take place in real time at a much more casual speed if you are new to this.
So again, this is in relation to what Trump put on a True Social about earlier, saying that he's been informed by the military that last night the Iranians shot down one of the highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz. Axios just gave us some color here, saying the Iranian drone hit the US helicopter and got it to crash.
It's like one of like the easiest ways to start to learn this is just by watching it live and being like able to see these kind of like auctions take place. This is a really important area. This is our big pivot here on ES to let us know if something new is going to happen or if we just rotated back up to our initial balance where we failed and we trapped. I'm really curious to see what happens into Russell value low, right? This could easily be where momentum starts to cease for a rotation back down. And same thing with ES here at our 305, 315, where we identified this participant before, right? This is a very clear area where they're willing to take in size, right? It's the same where we absorbed and then rotated down for our news candle. It's the same area, right? And we're seeing that same size being taken in again here. So it's just a range rotation right now. I'm not saying that we're going to get like a
So
gigantic
3-year
sell,
US Treasury yield
but
steady after auction, last down 1.8 basis points
oops,
at 4.189%.
we recovered our lows, right? And we're now rotating this balance. And now we're watching to see if we are able to hold and then start to go back up, or if we're going to absorb into this and then start to rotate back down again from here. I don't have an answer for you yet. All I know is that this is our pivot, right? These two zones. And we're watching to see what we do into these zones. We know that this is our high, this 305, 315. We're watching to see how we interact here. We know that we absorbed on the last attempt and then saw a really dramatic sell on the look down, right, from this pivot. So what we're going to be watching is, do we just balance in here for right
Yeah, put
now?
out the article
and
from
then
Axios on the feed for
show
those
interest
interested.
over, right? Or are we going to trap here once again and then see the same seller show size here, just like on the last attempt, right, after trapping? And does that then, lead to the same kind of move? Does that make sense? Do you see that comparison between these two, where we saw that seller step in aggressively below? And we can see they're trying to take in size here again into our high pivot. So we'll just really keep our eye on here into our lows. Do we, right, get this bid to maintain, and can we step over and do something with it? Or is this going to hold, offer, and then rotate down? And let's just watch Russell to see if it can get back into value, or if this is gonna, fall, lose that momentum. Same thing with NQ, just into our big edge here. Are they gonna be able to take in? And what happens as we come back down to retest these buyers here into this low? Right, same thing. It's like, is this bid going to be here to then go up? Or does this trap, and then do we hold this? We'll find out relatively soon. So we're watching like 85 to 92, 90, 94. I don't know. And just this edge, just watching, see if we can hold or if this is going to fail. Yeah, like 92 to 85. All right, just like this POC to this low. This is general area. And again, like there's not really a great shorting opportunity for if Russell wants to continue to hold higher lows. Yeah. So let's see what they do here. Just the top of our previous auction where we sold last. Either we do something new or we'll rotate back down, you know? All sell side wants to do is get us below 85 again. That's all that they want to do. Bid's job, the only job, is to defend that 85, 92 area, that low here, and then try to lift us over that 315. That's their job, so that we can push back up to like 335, 340. That's all that they want to do. Right? You have a very clear like two-way auction where we're trying to head back up here, and sell side wants us to flip back below here, right below these guys. I think I've laid this out pretty well. Let's see what they do. New 15s. Bid's got to be like pretty clear here at 600. Good bid, good push. Really great auction hold here off of our value of our previous candle at our 600 on NQ. POC to value high on open new 15s. Pushing up into our 740 would be my assumption, but we'll see what they do here. 720 first target would be great. Watching our 15s on ES for move to 32 if we can get this auction to happen. 25 and then 32. 25 to 35 is your target here. It's the same as before. Watching to see if 15s can hold on ES. We're looking for this look up, this buyer to stay and then rotate us to this 25.32. NQ into 740. Right, we held our lows, failed to trap highs. Now watching our edge high here, see if we can get up with Russell continuing to push and hold. Not a great shorting opportunity, right? If Russell continues to move. Really nice, again, like a bid of our POC to value of previous candle. Let's see if they can build here at this 15. I have a limit at 25. This is first target on NQ here in 240. And in order to our 25s, first target on ES following our pathing.
So according to the New York Times, US and Iran zero in on 4 nuclear issues in talks.
Again, I've taken off half my risk here into first target off our flip and hold of our pivot. Now watching to see what we do. Right, we failed to absorb here and get back below. We bid our lows instead and then rotated up. Make sense? Did Russell lose momentum here, or were we able to push the higher low? Right. $32 next target here on ES, so we push into it.
We have put the article out on the feed for those interested.
There's so much absorption on ES into 35 to 45, so that's why I'm just like being a bit careful as we push into this. When do you consider a right side of V? Well, I've given you a really good tool set to know that, right? Just with the POC to value hold of our previous 15-minute candle, right? Like there's a very clear shift that happens where we no longer are holding POC to value as resistance, right? On the way down, Maldito. We then create a distribution at our lows with usually a trap, and then we see a clear shift where POC is then holding as supportive on the way up, right? Can I delete this now? Are you guys, do you see how what this played? I gotta move charts. right? Like again, Maldito, like look at this. What happened in our lows? Like even our automatic indicator.
So furthermore, from New York Times, US believes
this
Iran
shift
to
out.
settle on the 15-year enrichment suspension. So again, according to the New York Times, saying the US believes Iran to settle on 15-year enrichment suspension.
So this is what our indicator shows us on both.
And the New York Times cites US officials and diplomats briefed on US-Iran talks.
What do we see? What's happening here into our lows? What do we need to see for us to feel comfortable with a potential right side of V? Well, first thing is trapped liquidity, right? Then what do we want to see after trapped liquidity? Higher lows, right? Above our previous seller. So where was our previous seller? Well, here, right? So what happens when we flip that seller to a bid? Right? That's your right side of V. Right? So you can either play off of the initial look back into our range once we have identified a trap trader and a bid at our value of previous candle for a push up, right? And then we play up to our most recent seller, which again was here where we identified. And then we identified that if we were going to go higher, right, we would need to flip this, and then we would play up to our next level, our next seller. And then this determines if we're going to get continuation or not into our 35-45. So this is the start of a potential right side of V if we can now build above this. Right now, we're now in the balance between this like 315 and 345. Does that make sense? Do you see that? That shift that occurred? Like literally, like where's the... You ask me like, what's the right side of a V? I mean, like this trapped liquidity into a low, higher low that forms above, right? Clear buying now showing at our edges, now showing as a supportive hold from previous value. Right, like this is exactly the sequencing that we just talked about. Recovery of our balance and rotation through. And like we'll get a really nice continuation and break if we can get over this this 35 to 45 liquidity that we have marked here. It's a really important that we get back above this. Remember, this was like the big sell where we saw this shift down. Remember, this was a trap that then rotated. So we're pushing back up into this now, trying to get back above this node. Maybe this isn't, it's hard for you guys to visualize this here. Let me change this back to just cluster. Is that easier? Do you see how we shift from our POC being resistance on the way down to then trap liquidity low, and then our POC then starting to hold supportive, pushing up into a previous absorption, and then holding that absorption as supportive? I don't even know if you're here, Maldito, but... And now like we're at our big pivots where like we either can get back into this previous range, right? And then traverse the range, or like we hold the edge and failed to get back in. I don't know what the answer is here. We'll see. This is our value low of this structure where we broke down on both, where we took our big short to the downside. So now it's like, can we get back in? Oops. Or is this going to fail? I don't know. This is our daily value low we're trying to get back into now. So like if we go to our profile here, right, like this is just a retest of our main seller. But like if we can build here, this would be really nice to then continue back up. This is an incredibly thin auction. Sorry, I shouldn't have done it with this tool. Right, we're just like coming back up to reoffer this. But like if we can now hold this value low, we can then traverse back up through this auction if we can flip it. So like we've stepped over where the seller was before, and now this is where the bid rests, and we're rotating back up to this seller now. And it's like, okay, well, what are we gonna do here now that we've flipped this guy? Well, I would assume that we come up into this and then need to retest our value edge, and then we'll look to see if we like do something like that, maybe. Or we just immediately are able to bid through. I don't have that answer for you yet. But I would assume that like we have to retest this edge from that seller and then we can step up, right? Something like that. You can see like we've now flipped this. So we'll just like watch to see what we do into this. And if we can get back up, great. If not, we'll probably have to come down into this and then do something like that, like we drew, which is the same thing on all of these drawings. Or we'll just immediately be able to flip and then we'll show interest over 350 for a move back up to like 400. Yeah, right. Like we're trying. Well, I mean, let's see what they do. New 15's opening now. Let's see if we can hold POC to value. Previous candle, get above this, continue to maintain for that continued upside, right side of V idea with Russell continuing to bid. I would assume that we continue to maintain momentum until Russell reverts to VWAP, right? Like that's kind of usually the play. And then we figure out what we want to do from there. But you know, I mean, we'll just watch and see what they do. We're in a long, so like it doesn't. We just watch to see if we continue to make higher lows or not. Again, like there's just like really not much here until we breach above 35.45 on NQ or on sorry ES. It's just so much absorption that was here from our last POC trying to shift on Russell. Big deal. Again, this is where we had a shitload of absorption on the last test into 35 to 45 on ES. It's a great first target. And now let's watch to see what we do. NQ also just now into target off of our hold of POC to value of our previous 15-minute candle on the open of the new candle, pushing up into this absorption, right? This is, again, where we rejected on the last attempt. Let's see what they do with this. Beautiful continuation. POC is now shifted on ES on the 30. Same with Russell. We're just waiting on NQ to shift down. See how we got that movement that we were looking for as soon as we were able to flip over 15s? Really nice move up to that 35-45 liquidity. Now let's see what they do here. Again, this is just where we had our big primary sell, where we made that 3 bar off of our big zone here. Objectively, we need to be able to build above this 35 and start to take out the supply that's here and then get over 350 for continuation. That's the goal from buyers, is to be able to build within this balance and start to show the ability to kind of sustain where this absorption took place on the last attempt. We know that there's a seller sitting here, right? We know that this is where they took in size on the last attempt. It is incredibly important that the bid starts to show very clear interest here to step us back up, or this is going to just be where, right, like we know that they're sitting 35-45. Well, how do you know that, Sig? Right? Like, that's what you're asking yourself, right? So again, it's a very easy visual with both the footprint that we were just looking at, but also just like, go look at your fixed range, right? Sorry, not your fixed range, your delta axis. Look at all these buyers that are up here into this 45 to 35 that we're testing into now. A lot of effort, not a lot of movement, right? A lot of effort, not a lot of movement. And see, we've got like these sellers here. This is where we were holding. So we're pushing now into this 35 to 45 where these buyers were, and we can see them here. We can see these offside traders that are in these lows, and we're trying to build up. We need to get over this. If we can get over this 45.50, where we can rotate back up the entire range on the day. If this holds, right, then it's the same absorption as before, and then we can head back down. You can see where these transactions occurred. We're watching to see if we can push through this, get back above. If we can, we have some really great targets above us, right? Again, like what's the usual target for a reversion if we have a POC shift? Well, like if it's a successful POC migration, right, we can then look to use that as our target, right, of where we would most likely be going. And then we figure out what we're going to do. Yeah, right? So then we'll like figure out what we do up here if we can actually flip. If this fails, right, then this will come down, and then we'll offer, and then we'll do something like this, where this POC shift will become our resistance off of a failure to look above and hold this, and then we'll rotate back down. And we'll see what they do, but we just play it level to level back up to these highs. Yeah, for sure, right? And we'll be able to spot that pretty easily because we can see where they're taking it in, right?
The S&P 500 index pairs dropped to less than 1%, had been down 2.3%.
And remember, just wait for Russell to lose momentum, right? Like it's very clear when a short is viable when you have full market participation. There might be a short without full market participation, but it's probably not worth your fucking time, right? Just wait for the high confidence setups. So let's just watch to see as Russell comes back up into VWAP what happens. Or like if we reject ETH low and we get back below this POC here at 39, right? Like just like we have very clear rotations where it'd be like, okay, failure at POC, rotation back down to value low, right? Like that's a potential test if we fail here. Okay. So it's like, okay, if this POC holds the supportive here at 39, we're most likely going to rotate back up to VWAP.
According to Al Karbi, saying exiting OPEC has provided the UAE with flexibility.
And then we watch for like a loss of momentum there.
So that's ADNOC Upstream CEO
Also,
Al Karbi speaking in Calgary.
but again, like we're just eating through this liquidity here at 45 to 35 on ES right now. We already know that this is where they're absorbing. We want to see them flip it. Look at where POC is on this candle. Right? It's like literally R45. It's like no, we're not making shit up. We can see these levels in real time. Hmm. 850, 880. Yeah, I have a very similar area. It should give you like a rotation up to like 920, 940 potentially. I don't know. We'll see. Just need to see like a very clear hold over this on NQ. 910 is like a good first target if we flip it. I mean, like this is such a fantastic day to just trade micros, man. Like we just bought the 315 breakout and we're now at 350 on ES. Like, are you fucking kidding? Like, this is insane. The amount of points we're getting. I'm trading ES like I'm trading like I would trade NQ on a normal day. Insane range. Yeah, this is your first like real target here on NQs. This like 906, 935. And then above that, we'd look for like 974. And then 20. Just watch to see what they do here. Again, we're just like really trying to build above this 50. Big hold here. We need to get up. Once we do that, then we revert back up to our VWAP on the 15, right? That's that 370 target on ES. Again, watch Russell. We still have momentum. We're still headed up to that VWAP. Let's see what we do as we push into it. No short is viable until we get like that Russell lost momentum and ES and NQ starting to trap, right? Just like save yourself the trouble. Just play the trend. You know, it's like just don't be an idiot. Market's a lot easier when you like stop making irrational decisions. Just like walk through your trades. We know where we're headed. Next target here is 65.70 on ES. Yes. Like this is a perfect right side of V that we've just taken. And now we're playing back up into this absorption here on NQ, into this 906, 935. This is that target we were talking about. If we can flip this, we head up to like 980. Russell into our VWAP now and previous low. Again, like I think like 65.70 is our next little. I'm just gonna keep our eye on this area. Got a lot up here, a lot of selling. Russell starting to show a little weakness. Yeah, I think that that's good. And see that seller stepping in the exact same spot where they absorbed on the last attempt. We'd love to see them try to defend this 830, 870 here. Ideally like 50 to 70. Let's see what they do. As ES comes back down into 45. Wait for Russell to find a low. They've got a buyer that's trapped on RTY at 51.60. I don't want to say trapped. He's a bit off sides right now. That's all. Just watch to see what they do. So we pull back a little bit. I mean, the reoffer will let us know if he's trapped as we push back into that 51.40, 51.60. Pushing into POC of previous candle now here at 45 on ES. Just watching our 45 to 35 as our where we're looking for that bid and our halfway back here on RTY and our pivot. See if we get one more leg up or if this is it for now. Remember, market will continue to pull back until Russell finds this low. We're watching to see what happens as we push into this halfway back here in this white box and into our 45 to 35 on ES. NQ is going to be a bit more volatile. I can't really give you an exact level there, but we've got this LVN to fill into 790. Just watching for Russell to find it. Just in a runner. Into our halfway back here on RTY. A little bit, nothing crazy yet. I'm still just holding one, watching our pivot here. Again, still just coming back down into where we need. We've got a buyer at 840 on Russell that I'm watching. This is our POC shift on retest. I'd like to be able to find an ad if we're going to. Just keeping an eye on it. Oh yeah, for sure. We shift if this 36 to 40 on Russell doesn't hold. This is either where we bid or it fails. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I just need to see what Russell does here. This is our bottom of our, this is just a rotation back to our range where our POC sits. So if we fail to do anything desirable here and find an active bid back over 40, then maybe we have a problem. But I think we at least get a reflexive bid and then reoffer, but I mean, we'll see. If RTY can get back over 40 here pretty actively, I'm going to add to my ES position. Good reaction so far into 35. RTY into our 40 to 36. Watching to see if we can step up here. Watch our halfway back on RTY. Good initial reaction. Need to get back over 45s on ES. Watching our halfway back at our 44, 47 on RTY. Let's see if we find a secondary buyer here. High or low. Good bid back up. Russell held our pivot at our POC, retesting now. Back above our 45. Let's see if we can get this move. Remember, we have that trap trader and offer that's sitting at 51.30 on Russell, where that guy got stuck. We've just bid where we needed to, and we're rotating up again into our 50 edge on ES. We know sell side sits here into our 54 to 60. We're just keeping an eye on this. This is Russell into our resistance here at 51.90. Watching for a very clear higher low back above our pivot now that we've rotated. We've maintained the same value, right, from our buyers at the lows here. We still are maintaining our structure on NQ on the 15-minute footprint. Russell was able to hold where it needed to, just to pull back. Now we're watching to see if we can bid back now and defend this like 90 on NQ and this like 45, I don't know, 40 area on ES on retest. Yeah, dude, like these days you cannot have a tight stop. I promise, like you're just gonna get whipsawed over and over again. Just smaller size, trade micros, you will make money. Like like you just have to see it to believe it, right? But it's one of those things where like it's like yeah, just it, you do not need large size to make money on a day today, but you do need a wider stop. I'm glad you reevaluated. Watching to see what we do here on the bid, if this is going to fail or if we can hold a higher low. I'm going to head out of here soon. I just wanted to guide you guys through the right side of V for a little bit, just so that you could see it. How do you handle trading the initial sell-off, like from opening? I don't start trading until at least 10. I don't trade the first 30 minutes usually. I'm not even like at my computer. I trade from 10 to 12 usually. 10 to 1 really. I let the initial move play and then just wait for a directional decision. Usually I use the 30-second opening range at the beginning of the day as a reference point, or I use the overnight value as the reference. And then I just wait to see what we do. I find like an initial pocket that seems interesting to me size-wise, and then I'll play off of that. But I don't really go into a day with a bias. We just have pivots, like clear balances that we've traded before, right? So like this was our idea. We know that this is the weekly, our weekly levels, right? So this is our larger auction that we're trying to take place in right now. You can see like we just filled this gap and we have this big auction above us, and this is like a big level that we need to be able to get back above this 350. So what we've done is just filled this, and now we're watching to see if we can start to initiate right back above this for rotations back through this auction that we've established, or if this is going to fail, right, and then start to really lead down for a continuation as we push down into these lows. We just don't have a great idea, but what we did know is that on the let me go to our 5-minute chart. Right, like this is what we're watching. So like this was the open. Was right into a pivot. And what we saw is a failure to show any interest above these highs, and then a rotation back below. So if I was trading in the morning, right, this is what I'd be watching for, Keith. Do you see how we traded back within yesterday's structure? Previous day POC to previous day value here. Do you see this right here where we're, oops, wrong tool. I would be looking for a failure at this edge to then hold us for rotations back down, just like we did yesterday. So do you see how on open, we try to hold our value edge here, and where we failed the bid yesterday, and that rotated us up off of this auction that took place here. And then we rotate down, and then what do? Well, we trade to the POC, right, of yesterday's auction, rebid, right, sorry, we go back up, and then we offer in the same place where we shorted yesterday, right? And then we failed. And then what did we do for our secondary attempt? Well, we then held yesterday's value low and then flipped that on a look back down. That gave us our next leg, right? Structurally, we failed to look above, and then we rotated yesterday's auction, and then we held yesterday's auction for a continuation down. So like all I'm using in the mornings is yesterday's structure, previous day's structure, right? Like our weekly structure, to determine what we're looking at. And then we just trade like node to node, basically. So what we just did right now was really important, and we're now watching to see if we can, recover, right? We know that this is a big area of resistance above us. What we know right now is that we're trying to recover POC, and we're trying to flip this offer that we played this morning, right? This was that short that we took to the downside here. What are we trying to do now? Well, we're trying to flip it as supportive, right? We're trying to build where the supply is. And if we can do that, we'll be able to then look above, hold, and then rotate back up to our value high, right? And then that becomes the afternoon auction is this. If this fails here, right, we're going to trap on a look above, and then we'll look for this to then retest, and then we'll rotate back down. And then like, this is our auction for the afternoon, right? Like that's what I'm just playing from node to node here. So we have this lower auction and we have this upper auction into 400, 410 into our value high off of a hold of our POC and a flip of this 50, right? That gives us our push back up into the structure. If this fails, then we'll be looking for a trap up here and then a push back below our daily POC and then a rotation back down to our 300. Does that make sense? So I'm just using previous structure, that's all. Saw a 3-bar engulfing. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, if you have a plan, I don't think that there's any problem playing the first 30 minutes. But if you don't have a plan and you don't have zones marked out and you don't have like a what if scenario already in your head, then I would say you should wait for some, MGI, market generated information to form first before you take a trade, right? Like, you just have to have a plan. So like right now we've got this node and we've got this node and we have this LVN. So if we can hold here, we'll be looking for a traverse through this LVN back up to this HVE, this high volume, right, edge, right into here. If this fails, right, we'll get the look above, and then we'll look for that reoffer back below for that rotation down. Yeah, I mean, I know people who trade the first 30 minutes and then they leave for the rest of the day, right? Like if you have a plan and you've been watching Globex, then it's perfectly fine. It doesn't matter. It's just like what's comfortable for you. But yeah, I mean, if you are trying to trade the open, I would definitely focus on structure. And if you need levels, Keith, look up a guy named Smash Lido on Twitter for your levels. He does a great job explaining things out, and then just mark those on your chart and play around. Here, just put it in chat. Use it to start to be able to form your own plans, right? By reading what he says, building out an idea of how to read the auction. And QPOC finally shifted to this 30 as resistance as of right now. No ability to look over 50s yet on NQ, or on ES, sorry. Watching Russell to see if we find the higher low here at our halfway back, or if this is just over. We can see like Russell is still just taking in size here at this 52. There's just like no interest above. Right, like this is our RTY auction. This is it, right? We're just trading this profile here. Big size here. That's where we originally called out that guy who was potentially offsides. And we just rotated back down to our value low, right? Found that bid, and now rotated right back up to POC and rejected so far. Not a great look so far. We can see like all of this liquidity is trapped right now for the short term. Same with all of this into our highs. We'd love to really see like Russell bounce here, start to just like balance while we rotate, get acceptance back above this NQ POC, not hold it as resistance. So watching this retest will be big, letting us know if we're going to hit our head on this node. Right, we just built out this big node. Do we hit our head on it and then reject and start to take out lows? Or can we get over this and start to bid? Okay, it's 2 o'clock, man. I gotta go. I'm gonna do a full session again if I keep talking. I'm yapping today, man. Yeah, I'm gonna try to stay in this runner, but I mean, we'll see what they do. If Russell can't get over this 52, it's gonna be an issue. I don't know. I didn't trade a single mini today. Yeah, this is what we did with micros today, just scalping. Pretty good. A little drawdown at the midday, but really solid recovery and there. I gotta delete our drawings. Sorry, just watching our test in. See what we do. Not too bad for just micros, yeah. Not too bad. Good for the volatility for sure. Not mad about that at all. Like 737 on a fucking micro contract is insane, bro. But good expectancy, good size, right? Average loser, smaller than our average winner. Largest winner, 3 times bigger than our average loser. So we have a really solid expectancy with micros. And yeah, I don't know. Good stuff. I'm in a runner now off of our 45-35 hold. Just watching to see if we can head up. But good stuff. This is how I have my my final contract set up as I leave. Just watching to see what we do as we push up into our highs here from the breakout of our 315 highs. I have added now here, and I've just moved my stop to this low, and then we'll watch to see what we do as we push up into this 65. But I am not really worried about it. It is what it is at this point. Just rotating back up to this. All right. Yeah, I mean, levels are on chart, boys. Our main levels. They, even if you hide drawings, right, they're all there. So it's everything's set for you. Charts linked in chat, but I'm gonna head out before I spend the whole day. We just watch to see what happens into our VWAPs now that we've reverted. And then we go there. Okay. I'm gonna go try to get some work done, build out some stuff indicator-wise. All right, peace. Yeah, usually I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah, I'll stream tomorrow on YouTube as well. I'll be here tomorrow live for public. I'll just do this week. So it'll be free. Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. All right, peace, man. Later.